Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Mad Mouth, along with my Thursday co-host on this edition, Rick Curdy. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing well.
And Mel Farr, my favorite running back.
How's it going, Scott?
Well, we're doing really good. All right, before we get to the headlines here, top headlines, I want to just make a great announcement that our brand new broadcast, No Limits, has been picked up by iHeartRadio. So iHeartRadio is part of the distribution for No Limits, one of our brand new show, which is taking off very, very well. For that matter, folks, you can also listen to the Sports Exchange on many different platforms, but iHeartRadio is also amongst one of those. With that said, guys, let's go ahead and lead off with the Alabama-Ohio State. They've scheduled a home-and-home series for 2027 and 2028. Mel, what are your thoughts about this rivalry picking up a little bit down the road?
Yeah, I mean, right now it sounds exciting. Ohio State and Alabama, you got two of the better programs in the country facing off against one another. You know, it just depends on what the programs are going to be like 7 years from now. We don't know if Nick Saban is going to be there in 7 years. You know, we don't know what the programs are going to be like. So, but today, thinking about it today, and we haven't had any sports in forever, you know, it gets you excited just thinking about that. You know, I think it's great for college football. I think it's, you know, something that the fans love to see. They love to see the best playing the best. Obviously, the schools don't necessarily like it because, you know, every game counts, every week counts in college football, and a loss could be, you know, that could cost you an opportunity to play for the championship. But as a fan, I look forward to it. I just hope that the programs are in 2027 what they are today in 2020 and 2021.
Go ahead, Rick. What do you think?
Well, I would love to see it, you know, but unfortunately Urban Meyer's not there anymore, and Nick Saban most likely will not be there anymore. So it just depends if the schools don't get into any type of penalties. Hopefully they're still like championship team, and it just, you know, 7 years, anything can happen in 7 years. We'll see what happens, but I do have a bold prediction. I do believe that we're going to see Dabo Swinney as the coach of Alabama. I think one day he will eventually leave Clemson and he will go to Alabama. And it's that old saying, show me the money. And they're going to give Dabo a whole bunch of money to go to Alabama. That's where he went to college. And he's one of the hottest and brightest coaches out there. And why not go to Alabama? So I do see Dabo being there. Who's going to be the head coach of Ohio State? Who knows? But we'll see what happens.
What are your thoughts about that, Mel?
I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me for Dabo to leave. I mean, you're getting the best players, you're getting the blue chippers where you are right now. You got the facilities, you're getting paid, and on top of it, you play in a soft conference. It's really a basketball conference. You know, the SEC week in and week out, you know, it's a dogfight. You play tough teams. I mean, not only in your division, but the conference as a whole. Then to get to the conference championship is tough. To win the conference championship is going to be tough because the SEC, that they live and die football in the SEC, whereas the ACC is more of a basketball conference. He has a cakewalk every year to the championship game, and you know they usually take care of the business in the championship game. So why would he leave? He's getting paid. He's getting the money. He's getting the recruits. He's in the South. He gets the same players that Alabama and all the other schools in the SEC get. I don't see why he would leave. He built that program up to what it is. I mean, the guy's he's gonna have a statue erected there. And he goes to Alabama, and you follow behind Nick Saban. That's tough. That's tough. I mean, you know, Nick is probably gonna get a statue there in Alabama. I mean, is he gonna be there long enough where he can get himself a statue as well? Where he can, you know, he owns South Carolina. I don't know. I don't see why he would leave. It doesn't make any sense to me unless they just offered him a boatload of money, which I don't know. I think Clemson would match anything they would give him.
Good points, Mel. I'll tell you what. I do predict, as my longtime mentor, Ernie Harwell, once told me, or when he described Tiger games, I think Nick Saban will be long gone. So who ends up replacing him is anybody's guess. But bear in mind, you know, you're talking about the Big Ten here against the SEC. It's always good to see those two premier conferences compete with anything. Ryan Day's done a really good job with Ohio State, so I don't think he'll be long gone. I think Ryan Day's going to have one bright future there. And you're right, Mel, that to me, Clemson football is king of that state, and that Dabo Swinney's done a phenomenal job. However, let's just think about this for a second. Maybe, we're just talking about distinct possibilities, that maybe Dabo Swinney gets that Roy Williams itch, and Roy Williams coached Kansas basketball, and Dean Smith said, Roy, you need to come back home, and that's why he left Kansas basketball to run the ship over at North Carolina. So you never know, but I think you're right. I think for Dabo Swinney to leave the ACC and Clemson football, I think would be a real stretch. But, it's worth putting out there and let everybody else formulate their own opinions. All right. With that said, we're going to move on to the state of Texas, where the Texas Longhorns have said that 13 players have tested positive for COVID-19. What are your thoughts, Rick Curdy?
Just bad news for football and for sports, professional or college. I said this a long time ago, and people blasted me for it, but I don't see any sports happening in 2020. I just don't. They've had cases of it in the NFL with the Cowboys and Texans, and now you're getting at college. I mean, football is such a contact sport. You have all those players out on the field, plus the head coaches, assistants, medical personnel, everybody out there, referees, and, it just doesn't look good. And, even Dr. Fauci came out and said that they pretty much have to play like in a bubble for them to have some type of season going on. So I just don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Texas Longhorns, obviously, think about it, if it happens with them, every major college is going to be susceptible to that, right, Mel?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see how you can do it. I mean, it's a contact sport. You got a lot of guys out there. They're talking about allowing the schools to carry 110 players or 130 players, I think. I think 110 is what they can go to camp with. They can start out with 130, but by the time camp comes around, they got to wind it down to 110. They're talking about allowing every school possibly to have 130 players just because of COVID. That can have a devastating effect on a football team. Your top players get hit with this COVID, and then you got to quarantine them, and then you got to do the contact tracing. Anybody they came in contact with, they've got to be quarantined. I don't know how you do it. When we first started talking about this, I'm like, this thing, it'll get under control by then. Something will happen, or it'll run its course, or whatever the case may be. And we'll have football in the fall. But the more and more, every week we come on here and you watch TV, you look at CNN, you look at these numbers, you look at the outbreaks, you look at what's happening across the country. I'm kind of siding with Rick, and I hate to say it. I just don't see how you do it. I really don't. Even though they're getting ready to start the NBA, they're talking about starting up Major League Baseball too. All this stuff is extremely difficult. I don't know how you do it. Forget about the fans. I mean, I understand you're protecting the fans there, but the players, they're not immune to this. Like you said, I mean, you got 13 players that tested positive there at the University of Texas. We had a couple Cowboys and Texans players that tested positive. I mean, I think it just has to run its course, and I don't see how we're going to have competitive sports in 2020. I really don't.
It's amazing, Rick, how you brought it up, because that was leading to my next point. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease Director, Dr. Anthony Fauci, does remain skeptical about the chances of that happening during the COVID-19 pandemic, that the NFL may not happen unless players are in a bubble. So when you think about that in general, how realistic, Mel, is it for NFL teams to be in a bubble? What do you got to carry, like 110, 100 some people? And then you have, 32 teams? That's an awful lot of people in a real bubble. I don't know. I think the more and more we discuss this on a weekly basis, that as we continue to get more information going forward, I got to have to admit with you guys that I agree that I'm beginning to wonder whether or not football is in the cards for 2020. I mean, think think about Dr.
Football
Anthony.
or baseball.
Yeah, right. That's true. Dr. Anthony Fauci is a guy that we've actually, been leaning on for advice, and I don't think he's missed on one yet. Sorry, Mel. Go ahead.
No, you're right. I interrupted you, but football.
Right.
There's a lot of players, obviously, a lot of support staff. You got a lot of coaches. Baseball. There's a lot of players on baseball teams as well. Basketball, you may be able to do it because of the size of the rosters. They might be able to get away with it being in the bubble, but these other sports, I don't know how you do it, and I don't think they're even talking about putting these players in a bubble. And if they're out and about and they're intermingling with the public, it's bound to happen. It's just bound to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, you see what's happening now with guys just coming back, and these guys probably are asymptomatic more than likely, but they've been doing whatever they've been doing in the off season. They come back, they probably had to get tested, and boom, they tested positive.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen here as far as training camp and all that other stuff is concerned. It's going to be interesting to see how they work this all out.
Yeah, I think football is impossible. I mean, geez, Pete, I'm not talking about the chicken pox. Okay, we're talking about COVID-19, and I have a feeling that we're going to get that second wave of COVID-19. The numbers are going up. Granted, more testing is taking place. I think people are just not being responsible and taking the second wave for granted. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I mean, people are not wearing face masks. People are not social distancing. I walk into my neighborhood and I see restaurants packed. I see people having barbecues, people swimming. I mean, it's just like they just think that this is all over. And, and it's sad because you see people just not being responsible enough, So that's one of the big problems is that people are just not taking this seriously. And they just think, well, I'm young and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old you are or whatever. This thing does not care.
Yeah,
we
no.
had a situation where 16 people went to a bar. I think it was down in Florida. All 16 of them got the virus. So, yeah, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care.
That's true.
It's an equal opportunity virus. So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still nervous about it, especially being around my mom because she's a little bit older and all that kind of stuff. And, my daughter just had a little kid, man. So I got a little 1-month-old running around here. So, he ain't running around here. He's laying around here. But, I'm very concerned about that.
Well, think about it, guys. My mother's terminally ill back in the Metro Detroit area. My folks are living in Birmingham, Michigan, and all I've gotten out of her is FaceTime, and I can't. Well, Candy and I were supposed to go back there for Memorial Day, but Governor Gretchen Whitmer, which with all due respect, I respect what the governor is doing, trying to protect her state. We couldn't go there. My mom, 78 years old, we couldn't even get up there to see her, so the probability that I may never see her again alive certainly wears on me a lot. But thankfully we do have FaceTime, but nonetheless, it doesn't make it any easier internally, so I can appreciate that. So I don't know. It's definitely one of those contentious situations, which unfortunately people are just taking it way too for granted. I don't care. I mean, whether it's New York, Florida, Michigan, wherever, this disease, I believe a second wave is inevitable, and then let's see what the heck happens. I mean, and then all we do is sit here and speculate and look at those numbers. Please, I mean, I don't think football is doable in a bubble anyways. Do you, Mel?
It'd be very challenging.
Yeah.
I think any sport is going to be challenging to pull off, period. College in particular, when you're talking about having all these kids going back to school, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, I think I think it's wishful thinking because as soon as one person tests positive, then you got to isolate everybody, and so you're not playing for 14 days, whatever the case may be. So you got to forfeit a couple games. I don't know how you do it. The risk is just too great. Well,
think about it this way, Mel.
I don't even know why they're thinking about it.
Yeah, think about it this way, Mel. You've obviously played for the Rams, right? Let's just say hypothetically. Yes. Your wide receiver room of all of 4 people gets it. Then what are you going to do about any position room, right? What do you? So,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden the competition factor comes into play, and then coaches are scrambling and making any kind of desperate moves they have to do to field a competitive team. But think about the average position room. You have 4 wide receivers. All of a sudden, they got COVID-19. What do? Put yourself in the coach's cap, Mel, okay? What do you do when your whole position room is compromised because of COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean, you can't bring up any of the guys who are on the practice squad because they're in the wide receiver room as well. So now you're looking at street free agents. And then you bring in a street free agent, you don't know where that person's been, so he's going to have to be quarantined before he can come in there and intermingle with everybody else. Like I said, I just don't know how you do it. I really don't. If one person tests positive, I don't know how you do it. I don't know what they have in place to deal with that. That's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with a positive test. Because based on all the information that we've heard, you got to isolate that person, and you got to do contact tracing, and you got to isolate those people, or you got to check them, or whatever the case may be. But you'll want to isolate them because they've come in close contact with them. The person they may at some point in time become positive. You want to keep them away from everybody for the standard 7, 14 days, whatever that may be. I don't know how you do it.
Well,
and, even in the wide receiver rooms, wide receiver rooms, but then you have the offensive meetings. I mean, so they're all in a room cramped in there together. So potentially, you can have the offensive staff, and then the wide receiver room, you're close there, but when you in the locker room, you're close contact with other people, whoever your locker mates may be. So I don't know how you do it. I have no clue.
Well, think about it this way, Mel, okay? We're all trying to figure it out. Where is Albert Einstein when we need him? Come on, Albert. Somehow, some way, we need for you to give us some answers because none of us are actually equipped. I got to tell you a funny story, guys. There was a guy out there that takes all kinds. That was a psychic lawyer that talks to the dead. Now, I don't want to mention him by name, okay, but maybe he can dig up Albert Einstein and maybe try to put some answers to this because I'm not so sure I'm smart enough or any of us are smart enough to fathom the reality. And I think, too, what about the media? Although I have a feeling when I watched a report from a soccer stadium, they'd probably put us all up there. We'd all have to wear a mask, or they put us in another room downstairs. So that would be challenging. So, Rick, what are your thoughts about the bubble? Is it doable? I think I know where you're at.
It's not. I mean, it's just impossible. I mean, the NFL, you're talking about having some fans, for Pete's sakes. I mean, it's just not going to happen, And I love sports. I miss sports like crazy. But I just tell people, we need to just forget about 2020, focus on 2021. It's all about people's health. It's all about people's safety. And, and then we have people out there that just don't care. I mean, they're just doing whatever they want to do. And just, you have some governors out there who are being so irresponsible and just opening everything up and just jeopardizing people's health and safety. People are traveling all over the place and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just, we're just not doing a very, very good job about it. And, it's frustrating and I understand, but, you just have to, I just stay at home and watch movies or I'm on here or whatever. So I just don't see an NFL season as much as they say they're going to have an NFL season. They're not going to have an NFL season. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, these stats keep piling up every week. Then the NFL searching for answers, trying to scratch for answers. Colleges will be doing the same thing. The numbers start to devastate the respective schools, and all of a sudden you got your bigger headache than anyone can imagine. With that said, we'll talk about a guy that underestimated the nature of COVID-19, our beloved President Donald Trump. Then again, he's the same guy that tried to go ahead and get the USFL to file a lawsuit against the NFL. We know where we got with that. I don't want to get into a political discussion, but nevertheless, Donald Trump said that Colin Kaepernick should get a second chance in the NFL if he deserves it. All right, Rick, I'm going to let you lead off on this one.
This guy's all over the place. I don't know where he's at. First he called him an SOB. Now he's saying that he should be given an opportunity and stuff like that. He hates Colin Kaepernick with a passion. And the reason why is because he just wants to stir up his base because of this national anthem, kneeling, stuff like that. So I don't believe it for a second that he believes Colin Kaepernick should be given another chance. And he even said that he's going to stop watching the NFL and stop watching soccer because if he sees people kneeling. So I never know where he's at, but I never take him seriously.
What about you, Mal?
Yeah, I'm with Rick on that. I mean, you never know what his. I mean, there's always a motivation for him to say whatever he says. So, and it's always for his own self-benefit. So he had a reason for saying what he said at that particular time. Obviously, with the climate and everything that's going on right now, he just said what he thought everybody wanted him to say. I don't believe that he means it one bit. And I don't listen to the president that much because, half of the stuff that he tells are untruths and the other half are lies. So you never know what he's you never know. I mean, you can't believe anything that he says. So I heard it. I didn't put much weight into it. Doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. I just think right now, Colin Kaepernick is the in vogue thing. There's teams talking about giving him a workout and all this other kind of stuff because it's easy. It would have been more impressive to me if they would have done this back when he took that stance. Now it's just easy to me, and he's always deserved an opportunity. He was always capable of playing. I mean, you can't tell me that he's not one of the top 64 quarterbacks in the league, and that's that means you're first or second stringer, and you can't tell me that he couldn't be first or second string on somebody's club. So it's just an easy thing to say because of what's going on right now in this country.
All right, so I have a Sports Exchange quiz here for you guys. Okay, you ready? All right?
Okay.
What event will be occurring in November?
World Series.
Well, you hope. What about you, Rick?
If they agree to the schedule, I guess they're talking. I don't know.
All right, that's okay. That's a good crack. I've never given you guys a prompt quiz on the broadcast, but I'm doing it now. What's yours, Rick?
NBA championship. I have no idea.
Katie, you want to come in here and go ahead and take the microphone for a moment? She'll go ahead and chime in. We'll see if we can get it right.
My guess is the 12 hours of Sebring.
Oh, I'd like to go there, let me tell you. Okay, 12 hours of Sebring. Good promotion. Well, guys, let me re-inform you that this is a 2020 election, okay? Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
This is a sports show, not a political show.
Oh, well, that's right, but we're talking about Donald Trump this time. Hey, come on, Mel. We were talking about Donald Trump, so but you were dancing around it, Mel. Come on, think about it. Well, you're talking about Donald Trump and personal gain. So what thing do you think I'm going to throw out there to kind of throw a curveball? The 2020 election. Why would he say this? Because you just might want to win the darn thing so we have 4 years of Donald Trump. Now, I can tell you right now, the 2020 election. But don't worry, guys. You'll get another Sports Exchange quiz one day. So, yeah, we hope that the World Series will happen, although I'm not so sure about that one. The NBA playoffs is anybody's guess. And any other sports, well, I'll see it to believe it when they get on the field. But, I don't know. Just thought I'd throw it in there to make it even more fun, guys. And thank you very much for participating in the first Sports Exchange.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Exactly. That's why I did it. Huh?
It was too obvious.
Well, I threw a screen pass, Mel. Come on. But that's all right.
Yeah, you did.
That's okay. It's all fun, my co-host. It's all right. But, yeah, that thing called the 2020 election, so I wonder if the president's looking to kind of win this thing. Yeah, what are you going to say? The popular thing, right?
Exactly, sure.
Yeah, so it's okay. With that said, we'll segue over to that fella called Colin Kaepernick. Continue it. As Chargers coach Anthony Lynn said he would be crazy not to put Kaepernick on our workout list. All right, Rick, what are your thoughts? Because I know I'm waiting for Mel to hit a home run on this one.
I just wish they would just sign him. Just invite him and just practice. If you feel that strongly about him and you want him, stop talking about it and just invite the man for a practice. I mean, now Doug Peterson said the same thing that, we're looking at Colin Kaepernick maybe coming to the Eagles now. And, I mean, it's just like, shut up already. Just do it. And he should have done it, Pete Carroll going on, saying I should have signed him, would have, could have, should have. Just sign the man, invite him to a practice at least. And if you need him, sign him. If you don't need him, don't bring him. I'm so sick of these coaches now wanting to play the popular card now when they could have done this 3 or 4 years ago. So I just think it's a bunch of hooey myself.
All right, Mel, go ahead. Take a swipe at this one.
Again, for Anthony Lynn, that's the easy thing to say right now, but he's got 3 quarterbacks on his roster right now that he likes all 3 of them. I would like to see Colin go somewhere where he'll have an opportunity to play. A team like Jacksonville, maybe even the Patriots, Chicago possibly, even though I know they just picked up another quarterback over there. But I'd like to see him make Denver maybe, somewhere where there's an unproven quarterback. It's kind of a tricky situation for him. You can't go to a team that has a young quarterback who they think is who the franchise thinks is the quarterback of the future, and you have Colin Kaepernick sitting on the bench, like the Jets or the Giants or Miami. You can't go to a team like that.
Right.
But I'd like to see him get an opportunity at with a Jacksonville. I mean, I think he's an upgrade over what they have. And I think with some time in camp, he can get his rhythm back and get his timing back, and he could help their franchise win some football games. But I'd like to see him come back and have a legitimate opportunity to play, not hold a clipboard. This guy's a starting quarterback in this league. This guy took a team to the Super Bowl. This guy, I mean, he was a special player. I mean, Ron Jaworski said he was the future of that position when he had that breakout year. So I'd like to see him, and this all depends on if he wants to play. I mean, we haven't heard from Colin. We don't know what he really wants to do.
Right.
But if he wants to play, I think he should choose a franchise where he has an opportunity to play. And I think Jacksonville would be an ideal situation for him because I know he's an upgrade over Gardner Minshew. I know he is.
Mike Glennon,
Minshew might be able to start 4 or 5 games or whatever, and then let Colin come in after he's gets his sea legs and take him the rest of the way. Or he could win the thing, win the battle straight out. And this is all if we have a football season.
True.
So, I mean, all this is speculative.
All right.
But I'd like to see him go somewhere where he has an opportunity to play.
Well, I know one thing. I know the Chargers are what I've heard. I know that Colin Kaepernick would sell tickets in L.A., and we know that L.A. has a history of Black Lives Matters thing. But regardless, I think you're right. The Jacksonville Jaguars would be a pretty good fit for him there. And of course, you have Shad Khan, who was a minority owner, so a lot of that makes sense. I'm with you all the way. And our final topic of the night, guys. You there, Rick?
Yep.
Okay. Our final topic of the night, we'll go to the NBA. The NBA can stop older coaches from entering the campus environment. The 3 guys that are being pointed out will be Alvin Gentry, Mike D'Antoni, and Greg Popovich. So go ahead, Rick. What are your thoughts about the senior rate may not get you in the tournament?
Well, it just all depends what happens, So, it's just everything's up in the air. We don't know, So, I don't even know if we're going to have an NBA season, to be quite honest. Who knows? So, you have players now who are not really sure about what's going to happen because of COVID-19. Just everything's up in the air, so it's so hard to say, but I'm not really sure about all that, to be quite honest with you.
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a season. I think that, whatever LeBron does, what Patrick Beverly said, whatever he says, that's what's going to happen. LeBron is the leader of that sport. He would get with Adam Silver and whatever they have to do to work it out to make sure that everybody's happy. They're going to play basketball. There's stuff that Kyrie's doing right now. Kyrie is a different kind of individual. He was talking about the world is flat and
there's no dinosaurs,
or something like that. Yeah, things of that nature. And he's a different kind of cat. So, and Kendrick Perkins said it about him. He's talking the talk, but he's willing to walk the walk. Okay, is he willing to commit himself like Maya Moore did, where she hasn't played a couple years in the WNBA? Is he willing to commit himself that way? And like everybody's saying, the best way that they can help is by going out there and playing, so they can get their money, so they can go back to the communities and do whatever it is that he wants to do. They can get the NBA involved, and they can do some kind of dollar for dollar matching or whatever it is that they want to do to figure out so we can stay on top of making sure that we get legislation passed to make this country a more just country for everybody. But sitting out is not the answer. Sitting out and doing nothing is not the answer. There's momentum going, but Kyrie had nothing to do with that momentum. He had nothing to do with it. Now he wants to capitalize on it. He wants to use that for whatever reason. And I don't understand Kyrie. This is a guy that wanted to leave LeBron. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand about Kyrie. I think he, obviously he thinks he's a alpha male, and I get that. He's a talented basketball player, but he's not a LeBron James. He's not a Kobe Bryant. He's definitely not a Michael Jordan or anything like that. He's a very, very good basketball player. And him and LeBron were very, very, very good together, and they could have won a lot of championships together in Cleveland. But he might be successful in Brooklyn with Kevin Durant. I don't know, but I think there'll be a basketball season because whatever LeBron says, that's what's going to happen. And we haven't heard a thing from LeBron. Haven't heard anything from him in a while. But I do believe that come July 15th or whatever that day is, that we're going to see basketball. And I look forward to it. I think they have the best possibility out of all the teams to complete their season because the roster sizes are small. They can control it a lot better. They got everybody in a controlled environment. It's very difficult to get 32 football teams in a controlled environment like that. It's difficult to get baseball teams in a controlled environment like that because you got more baseball players. But I think basketball, out of all the sports, they're the ones that probably have the best chance to have a season and complete a season.
But when you look at Greg Popovich, Alvin Gentry, and Mike D'Antoni being in their 60s, do you think that would be a mistake to leave them out of it? Because I know that Rick Carlisle, who's the president of the Coaches Association, and Adam Silver backed off those comments that maybe he was jumping the gun quick. I think it would be a major mistake to leave those three out, and I think it would definitely take away from the product because, let's face it, these are three excellent basketball coaches.
I think you have to let the coaches make that decision for themselves, but they ain't gonna be down there that long anyway. Alvin Gentry, they're the 10th. I think they're in the 10th position right now in the West, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So they've got to win some games to even get into the tournament. I don't know where the Spurs are in the seeding right now, but they're not gonna be down there that long anyway. And Dallas, are they in the tournament? Are they close? I don't know where they are seeding wise either. They won't be down there long.
Well, Mark D'Antoni and the Rockets won't last long. I don't know how that small ball is going to work anyhow. I really don't. I've always doubted that.
Mark D'Antoni, it could be good because they've had a lot of time off. Harden can get his legs, but still, I don't see the Rockets going very far.
No, I don't see him either. So all this hypothetical talk about the three older coaches, even if they go there, they're not going to be there that long anyways, and then that's in the bubble. One other thing that came to mind, and I'll throw this out there because I just want to address it with you guys. Golf made a return this past weekend, and what are your thoughts about the fact that golf is the latest sport that has come back?
I think that's the only sport I can see ever being played right now because it's a game where you're by yourself, and even if you have people there, you can have a little bit of people that are far away from the golfers, but let's say they don't have people there, you're just there with your caddy. So that's a sport that I can see happening, and if they could just not, travel as much, and I'm sure they're not going to be traveling to other countries. That's the only sport I can see actually succeeding is golf. It's not a contact sport like the other sports, so it's just you and your caddy there by yourselves, and you're walking and things like that. So I'm not surprised to see golf. That's the only one I can see, that or bowling, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think there's no problem, Mel, social distancing for golf, is there?
No, there's not. Golf is a sport. Tennis maybe, but you got to share the tennis ball. They might have to do something with the tennis ball. Can't touch the tennis ball more than once or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, golf. There's no team there. It's just you and the caddy, so it's real simple. If somebody somebody tests positive, that's just one person that's out of the field. There's still a whole bunch of other players out there that can still have play competitive golf. So, yeah, it's good that it was back. It was nice to see it back. I did get a chance to watch a little bit of it. It looks the same to me because, crowd or no crowd, it's the same thing. And, the crowd is not a raucous crowd like a basketball or football crowd or anything like that, or a baseball crowd. It's always, they're a little bit more polite on the golf course. So,
yeah.
It's not a big difference as far as watching it on TV.
That's true. Yeah, no, they're definitely a lot more polite and subdued compared to the other thing. So, all right, guys, we had a great broadcast tonight. So, with that said, Mr. Curdy, why don't you lead off and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
You can contact us on our website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. That's cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. I'm on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, or our fan page at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball, and I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. You can contact me on any of those social media networks.
All right, Mel, I'm handing the rock over to you, and let people know how they can go ahead and get a hold of you, my friend.
Yeah, any social media site, you can catch me at Mel Farr Jr. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's Mel Farr Jr. Email melfarjr@gmail.com. And you can check out what we have going on our website at melfar.org.
And last but not least, us. Okay, you can reach us over at Tribune South. That's the @ Tribune South on Twitter. Facebook, South Florida Tribune. Like our page. Instagram, follow us there. And we have a YouTube channel, which, by the way, guys, got a little bit of a workout on Sunday. I had an opportunity to do a video in front of the old Lockhart Stadium where the Fort Lauderdale Strikers used to play and the Fort Lauderdale Yankees. So look for more of some YouTube videos coming up. No problem social distancing out in that area. Candy and I were pretty much by ourselves. And when she saw that brand new soccer stadium, the words that came out of Candy's mouth were, wow. All right, the website, you can hit www.southfloridatribune.com for all the latest content from both our media distribution partners, our columnists, and of course you can find the broadcast at southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and you can go ahead and locate me on LinkedIn at Scott Morganroth. You are listening to the Sports Exchange on WSAN Network. You can also find our broadcast wherever you get your podcasts as well. And once again, you are listening to the Sports Exchange. And tonight, myself, Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, along with our regular Thursday co-host Rick Curdy and Mal Farr. You guys do a super job together. Oh, but all I can say is, guys, we're going to continue to do it better next week, aren't we, guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So meanwhile, all right, everybody, you have yourself a great weekend, and we will see you next week here on the Sports Exchange. Good night, everybody, and be safe during these trying times, and don't take COVID-19 for granted, because I'll tell you, if you do, then you may find yourself with some large medical bills, and you don't want your family to experience the grief of a potential situation that can be totally avoided. So meanwhile, good night, everybody, and have a great weekend here from the Sports Exchange on the WSAN Network.